And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, you know, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
Bill Maher just tore into Zohran Mamdani with a firestorm so fierce it practically lit up the studio. The whole moment exploded into late-night theater. Tense, hilarious, and impossible to look away from. Maher dismantled the New York lawmaker's ultra-progressive pitch, joking that Mamdani's big victory played like a pre-packaged campaign ad for conservatives. Every line hit with razor precision, sparking laughter and disbelief as Maher ripped through Mamdani's boldest ideas with fearless speed. This wasn't soft criticism. It was sharp, relentless, and wickedly funny. Blink twice and you'll miss another jab. Seriously, grab popcorn. This takedown doesn't warm up. It erupts from the first second.
Who's the most popular politician on the left?
AOC? I don't know.
One of, but who's, you know, Bernie is,
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie is, I mean, he's not a capitalist, you know?
No, he's not. And he's also not president.
He's not, but
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No, but he will, trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people, they boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
Maher's not exaggerating. Republicans don't need to invent a scary version of Zohran Mamdani when Mamdani steps into that role every time he speaks. With him now appearing headed toward a major New York mayoral win, critics warn his rise could become a political jackpot for the GOP. To them, he glows like a giant neon sign announcing that Democrats are drifting deeper into ideological fantasy land. Mamdani calls himself a democratic socialist, but that reassurance mostly comforts his own fan base, not the swing voters who actually determine elections. Maher isn't buying it, because Mamdani represents that starry-eyed, over-idealized left-wing dream that sounds noble on paper and hands conservatives ready-made talking points every time he opens his mouth.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, you know, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah.
At first glance, Mamdani's message looks polished and utopian, warm enough for a magazine cover and smooth enough to win over newcomers. But pull at the edges and the glow fades fast. Beneath the dreamy language lies a familiar pattern seasoned observers have seen crumble before. To idealists, the promises sound poetic. But for anyone who remembers past socialist experiments collapsing under their own weight, it feels like déjà vu. History's cold rerun repackaged as fresh hope, complete with the same cracks no flowery language can hide for long.
I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
Socialist projects have crashed so often that most people treat the whole ideology like a burning stove. Touch it once, never again. But younger audiences still get swept up in the soft promises. Fairness, equality, effortless futures that sound magical. The problem isn't selfishness. It's human nature. People thrive on incentive, competition, and the belief their effort counts. Remove that, flatten rewards, and the engine stalls. Paper pushers multiply, waste spreads, and a system built for equality morphs into a maze of frustration. That's why history keeps shouting the same warning. When government grabs control of everything, the machine eventually collapses under its own weight. Mamdani's glossy proposals, state giveaways, sweeping control, look gentle on a flyer, but without real room to build, trade, and dream freely. Progress slows until everyone winds up equal only in disappointment.
When the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both.
Britain stands as a major cautionary tale. In the early 20th century, the country charged hard into socialist ideals, shared wealth, controlled industries, and bold promises of fairness. But once vibrant sectors were swallowed by the state, the system suffocated under endless red tape. Put sank. Prices surged. The economy wheezed. The equality promise didn't lift people. It dragged them down together. By the 1970s, Britain had earned the grim title, the sick man of Europe. Only after Thatcher pushed market-driven reforms did the country shake off the stagnation. The lesson was undeniable. The earlier experiment didn't just fail, it nearly broke the nation.
Beyond saying that we're going to make a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA plus New Yorkers, beyond saying that we're going to establish an office of LGBTQIA plus affairs, is also that we're going to provide $65 million in funding for gender-affirming care, the same amount of funding that the federal government was threatened to pull out from local providers for that kind of work.
Maher fears Zohran Mamdani might become a political trapdoor for Democrats. One wrong step and the party plunges out of the center and into a mess they can't escape. Voters are already sensitive to extreme swings. Many back Trump as a backlash to perceived progressive overreach, especially on emotionally charged issues like youth gender-affirming care. Yet Mamdani appears ready to walk straight into that same cultural fire, with critics pointing to fundraising and policies tied directly to those hot-button debates. To Maher, and to Democrats who care about winning rather than passing purity tests, Mani's blueprint isn't bold. It's disastrous. It hands Republicans the perfect argument that the left has drifted away from common sense and the everyday concerns of regular voters.
Like this.
He's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist, man. This is a communist.
I don't like to see a communist become mayor, I will tell you that.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. We should never be in a position where we're talking about a communist.
We're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. I think if a communist takes over New York City, I think that's a gift to the Republican Party.
There's no sugar-coating it. Trump doesn't need to paint Mamdani as a threat when Mamdani does all the dramatic work himself. From government-run grocery stores to free citywide transit. He proposes sweeping visions that place massive chunks of daily life under state control. Even people who like big ideas raise an eyebrow at that. Mamdani may call himself a democratic socialist, but his tone and policies echo the far-left script a little too clearly. The whole platform walks, talks, and waddles like textbook socialism. And as the saying goes, if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, everyone knows exactly what it is.
This vision of democratic socialism, it's one that often comes back to what Martin Luther King said decades ago. A vision of, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. Here in New York City, wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, 1 in 4 are in poverty. 500,000 kids go to sleep hungry every night. It's untenable to live with this kind of a divide. We have to actually have a politics that puts working people first.
Zoom in on Mamdani's message and the shine fades fast. The pitch sounds new, but it's really just recycled slogans dressed up with fresh graphics. Promises of fairness, equality, shared prosperity delivered with stirring language and curated statistics. History shows the pattern. The applause dies, reality sets in, and the glow cracks. Policies slow achievement, crush enterprise, and drain momentum. That's not the path New York needs. America didn't rise on micromanaged dreams. It rose on freedom, competition, innovation. Betting against that formula has never ended well. And Maher, beneath the jokes, sees the ending ahead of time because he's watched this movie before.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Well, it wasn't so much his aunt as his dad's cousin, but, semantics. Douglas, is he ready to lead?
No, in absolutely no way is he ready to lead, and that was just another reminder of it. This is such a self-involved little narcissist with so little going for him.
And that's the playbook, isn't it? Polished, heart-tugging stories engineered to spark emotion and manufacture support. It's a classic political maneuver, refined over decades and deployed whenever someone needs loyalty fast. For Democrats fluent in identity-driven storytelling, Zohran Mamdani's narrative slots in perfectly. Sentimental, symbolic, wrapped in virtue, and framed as progress. Compassion packaged just glossy enough to win applause. The political machine will eat it up, crowning him a champion of the unheard and a moral compass for the city. But anyone willing to look past the soft focus framing and theatrical language sees something different entirely. They're not swayed by poetic speeches or curated hardships because they know emotional storytelling isn't the same as real leadership. And Mamdani's story, while enchanting to idealists, feels like stagecraft, delivered with passion, but hollow exactly where substance should be.
But he even decides to turn the memory of 9/11 and the 3,000 Americans of that day into a story about his aunt and the subway. It's interesting, like so many things that this smarmy candidate does, he makes it about himself and it all turns out to be untrue anyway. It seems to the extent that he had any such aunt in question, she wasn't in New York at the time and in any case didn't wear the headscarf.
Turns out the warm, glowing origin story around Zohran Mamdani doesn't look quite as radiant once you step in for a closer look. In deep blue New York, where the rules bend and loyalty routinely outweighs logic, he still seems poised to coast into office, even as cracks in the narrative start showing. The real suspense isn't whether he'll win, but what happens when his campaign poetry crashes into the gritty, unfiltered reality of running one of the world's most chaotic cities. Slogans are simple. Governing New York is a whole different beast. Watching Mamdani step into that pressure will be telling, because his rise doesn't feel like a triumphant leap forward. It feels more like a blinking caution sign. Behind the polished speeches and sugar-coated promises sits a worldview history hasn't exactly applauded. And the alarms around him aren't ringing by accident. If Mamdani charts New York in the wrong direction, the fallout won't stop at City Hall. It could reshape the broader Democratic brand in ways that echo well beyond the 5 boroughs. And with that, we wrap today's breakdown. If this one hit the mark, tap like and subscribe for more. Appreciate you watching. See you next time.